Sensitivity, sensibility, empathy, introversion, a version of a human being that's being introverted. What is all that? First of all, it's not something to be cured. It's not something to get rid of. It's not a bug, it's a feature. It's a gift. And this gift requires discipline. At least that's my experience. It requires discipline to bloom and to blossom. I used to feel that it's a gift and it's a curse, but now I feel it's a gift and a discipline. And I guess that's the only change that needs to happen, a change in perception, not to change who you are natively, not to change who I am natively, but to change a perception. And that change of perception comes with balancing those three. Let's start with introversion. How to balance introversion? What do I mean by that? I was primarily introverted in the first part of my life, and I wanted to change something. I wanted to open up a bit more. I wanted to share something with the world, and I couldn't. I was closed. I didn't like socializing. I didn't like some live events, live performance, doing presentations in work, or I wanted to play some music and it didn't quite go well live. I didn't feel, introverts that are watching, And I was inspired by rock stars, by Steve Vai, by Freddie Mercury and many others that managed to find a way to go on stage and perform beautiful music in front of thousands of people. That was my inspiration, and I started doing something like intuitively. I didn't have a book, a technique, a guide, a teacher, anything. I just followed the flow of life naturally. I wanted to do something in different areas of my life. So, for example, in my IT that I do for work, I was a developer. Hidden behind the monitor, doing the lines of code and very little talking, socializing, engaging with other people, with other team members. Just doing something, doing in the lines of code, doing in the computer. And with time, I switched over to consultancy and to project management, to business analysis. All those roles require much more engagement with other people, much more communication, much more socializing. In music, I wanted to share my music with the world, and as I said, it wasn't quite comfortable performing, so I practiced. So I created a YouTube channel. I practiced in front of the camera, and the first videos took me days to record and many attempts, and step by step I was quicker, I was faster, more comfortable in front of the camera, recording, uploading, doing this live performances. Also, shiatsu can be one example. As being closed with introverted reality, you need to be more open to talk to your clients, to listen to your clients, to understand what they came for, how can you help them. Also, you need to be open to touching other people, which I wasn't quite. And it required some practice. It required pushing my limits, stretching my boundaries, and stretching my horizons. That was the technique. That was the technique, so to speak, to balance my introvertedness, my introversion, to get more extroverted traits. This, however, doesn't mean that I've changed my core. No, I'm still having introverted core. I cannot change that. This means that I need solitude to recharge. After work, I need solitude, mostly solitude, or I'll be preferring one-to-one socializing events, so to speak, so with one friend only. That's what I like. It also doesn't mean that I'm going to wild parties or big loud concerts with, crazy lights. No, that's way too much for me, way too much. I do like concerts, but smaller venues without the crazy lights and small decibels, not being nearly as loud as big rock concerts. So I managed to get some extrovert traits to open up, but still keeping the core as is. When it comes to empathy, how did I feel back then when I had been overly empathic? I don't know if that's the right word, but let's put it that way, unbalanced empathic. I would feel exhausted to the bone after the work because I was taking too much of emotional states, emotions from people around me, moods from people around me, and that is not the way empathic ability is meant to be. That's a great tool, a great gift. But we need some discipline, as I said, to balance it, to make it really healthy. Now, this is related to some traumas, traumatic events. This is related to setting boundaries, and this is related to people pleasing. Those things I'll be covering in my future videos. For now, I will just say how to balance this empathy from being overly empathic to healthy empathic. You need some meditation. You don't have to become some meditation guru, but some meditation that will practice your focus. Focusing is the key here. It can help a great deal. Also, self-introspection. After the day, analyzing how I felt. What was mine and what did I pick up from others? What shouldn't be within my emotional realm, so to speak? Those two things can be of great help to balance and to find your way to really use empathy as a great gift and a great tool. So I didn't stop being empathic. I just shifted, I changed the polarity, so to speak. I don't have the right word, but I do hope that from my story you get the picture what I did and how it helped me. So now, after the work, I don't feel nearly as exhausted as I was years and years ago, because it really balanced, it really shifted. I can now still sense mood of other people, emotions of other people, but it doesn't affect me, not nearly as much as it was. And it also helped me to do the shiatsu, because you cannot do shiatsu if you're overly empathic. You'll be picking up way too much from your clients, and that's not the way it was meant to be. Lastly, sensitivity and sensibility. It does relate to a degree to empathy, but it has its own flavor. Sensitivity and sensibility do have two versions, let's put it that way. One version is the material one, and example for that can be sound and music. I was overly sensitive to music, in a sense that music would set my mood and I couldn't control it. And I wanted to gain some control over it, because one example is that you cannot always control the music that you hear. Luckily, many times you can, but sometimes you can't, and then it affects your mood. That's one reason. Another reason to balance it is that I want to be performing music, and if the music that I'm playing is affecting me too much, then I'll be making mistakes in playing. So that's the reason to balance this material aspect of sensitivity and sensibility. Non-material aspect is a bit trickier to explain, because non-material, we don't have so much proof, we don't have much scientific measurements. Let's take these lines here, meridians. We don't have exact scientific measurement that they exist, that those lines exist, and yet somehow I feel them. I feel this traditional Chinese medicine, this framework. I can feel it, I can use it. I have only experience that it works with my clients, that it works with me. So it's not scientifically proven, but it's there. I can feel it, I can use it, I can see it benefits me, I can see it benefits my clients. And what do I mean by balancing this aspect? Well, years ago I felt that I was not present in the body as much as I wanted to be present in the body. I was more into this spiritual realm, more in my mind and less in the body. I heard stories also in shiatsu world that shiatsu in Japan, like about 100 years ago, was more intense, the touch was deeper, stronger when it comes to the physical aspect of shiatsu. And when the shiatsu was brought to West, it became softer, because Western people in Western Hemisphere are not so much pain tolerant, are not so much present in the body as much as in the East. And shiatsu was adapted to a softer version. And that inspired me. I felt like I was not grounded enough, centered enough. I felt like I was not too much in my body. And then those stories came along and that inspired me. And somehow I connected the dots towards the pain threshold, the sensitivity to pain. I didn't have much pain tolerance. And I started doing the strength training, exercising more and more, sweating, bicycling up the local mountain, hiking, walking, jogging a bit, running, sweating, doing more and more physical effort brought me into this body, grounded me, embodied me. And now, years later, I can say that it's worth it. This is the way I balanced this sensitivity and sensibility. So now this balancing means that I have a greater range of dynamics. In music, dynamics means that you can play softly and almost unhearable, and then you can play loud. From soft, from unhearable to very loud. Same with this sensibility and sensitivity in physical and non-physical realm. Now I can go with stronger, firmer, deeper touch in shiatsu. I can exercise more. I can go, when I'm doing shiatsu, more into the structures of muscles, deeper, and also go to softer touch. And not just softer touch in physical realm, also go to non-physical, to these meridians here, to aura, to chakras. Something we cannot measure yet, but in my empirical experience it works, it benefits me, it benefits other people, my clients. So that's what's meant by balancing, by having a greater dynamics over it all, by being able to exercise more, to sweat more, to go higher up on the mountain with my bicycle, to do all those things. And well, to conclude this, balancing this sensitivity and sensibility, in my experience, is directly related with pain threshold, with this embodiment, with this getting back into your body. And one practical example can also be a story I heard in a video from Eckhart Tolle years ago. And he said that when you're going to the countries of Eastern Bloc, from Western Europe to Eastern Europe to Balkans, that you can feel this heavier vibration, more deprived vibration immediately after you exit the airplane. Back then, I didn't have much awareness of sensibility as I do have now, and I don't travel much, so I didn't have a point of reference. So I didn't know what he was talking about. I also heard a story back then from a traveling monk that visited Croatia for a few months, and he said that in Croatia, comparing to Western Europe, he felt every day like he was walking on a broken glass. I also couldn't understand much due to given reasons, but then years later, with practicing, with balancing and opening up, I started to understand this, and especially after the recent trip, I finally went somewhere abroad because I don't travel much. I finally went to Portugal, and I felt exactly this way. I felt, wow, what's happening? Why am I feeling so good here? Why is this better? And then I remember this story. You can really feel the difference. You can really feel the difference once you open up to this sensibility, to this sensitivity. And especially when I traveled to, after that I traveled to more eastern countries of this Balkan region where it's more rough. And you can feel the difference between Croatia and East and the West. And all this doesn't mean that, I don't know, Portugal is God's sent country. No, it just means that some aspects of it, of Portugal are softer, and well, they have their pros. You can call that softness pro, and they have their cons, just like Croatia has. Maybe Croatia has something that Western countries don't have, like stronger families, stronger sense of families, and my family helped me a great deal to come to this point where I am now, to be and remain in this more rough country, more Balkan country, and to practice all this, to balance all this. My family helped me a great deal to achieve what I achieved here, and I'm grateful. So each country has its own pros and cons. And I'm here telling you about this balancing, about this sensitivity, sensibility, and I wonder, how do you feel? Do you feel worn out after the day because of your overly empathic abilities? Do you feel like this, what I'm saying, is making sense? Do you feel like you want to be opening up your introverted reality and gaining some extrovert traits, so to speak? Do you feel like your sensibility is too much like in the clouds somewhere in the spiritual realm and you need more embodiment, just like I did? Write me down in the comments below. I'd like to hear your perspective, your feelings. How do you see all this? And until the next video, thank you for watching.